Hey, I'm Ted Santos. You know, the host of Straight Talk, that show that's made, it's the talk show that is made for men, by men. Except ladies, you never want to miss it. And here I am back out in my my natural habitat, the place where I love being, out in the woods, out in the jungle. And I thought, what better place to do a video about cavemen than to be out in a caveman's natural habitat. So as you see in the title, every single man on the planet has a right to be a sophisticated caveman, and no one has a right to infringe on that man's uh, his right, his natural, innate, born right to be a man, including a caveman. So let's think about it this way: we live in a society, especially in the U.S., where we do things kind of backwards, right? So we work on these machines and we make computers. And what do we want to do? We want computers to be more human-like. And then we want humans to be more machine-like. We want human beings to be in a workplace and put your head down, do your work, don't think, just do the work. Like that is exactly what some people expect from their people. Work like a computer. Just get it done. Just do it. In the computers, we want AI. We want them to think and act more human-like. How backwards is that, right? So I get it. Computers were created to be a more powerful simulation of the brain, right? It was an attempt to build a machine that could do what a brain can do, except see bigger and deeper patterns, right? Pattern recognition. That's one thing that computers were designed to do, and we as humans have that. Not everyone develops themselves to be good at that. So the other thing we've done, aside from trying to make people more machine-like and machines more human-like, the feminists came up with this great idea back in the 70s to say, hey, why don't we have men be more feminine and women be more masculine? It's a great idea. And then they justified it and said, hey, guys, you all have a feminine side. You should get in touch with that. And ladies, we have a masculine side. Let's show them we have a masculine side. And you fast forward, and here we are. You hear guys don't even want to get married because they're saying women are not feminine enough. And then you hear women complaining, well, I don't want these guys because the guys are not masculine enough. They're too feminine, too emotional. All the things that we expect from a woman, we're now getting them from men. So how backwards is that? So a lot of guys were actually tricked out of their masculinity. They actually bought into the feminist notion that you should get in touch with your feminine side, and anything masculine is this machismo, and this is horrible, and now they call it toxic masculinity. If you're being masculine, you're toxic. But if a woman pretends that she even has the slightest notion of portraying male characteristics, she's seen as, they reward her. You know, you go. You don't need a man. So what society are we building here? So what am I getting at here? So computers want to, are designed to have pattern recognition, right? And I did a show Sunday, and one of the conversations that came out of the show was, how do you distinguish a woman who, let's say, wants to just take advantage of you? She's just looking for a free meal. She's not interested in you. Uh, how do you manage yourself? And I thought, hey, this is really not about women. This is about men developing themselves, enhancing their own intelligence. Uh, Listen, exercise, whether it's yoga, in the gym, running, if it's something you haven't done, no question, no doubt, what that does is it expands your brain's capacity to think and see by doing things you haven't done before. You can even learn a new language. You can travel and learn about a new culture. You can learn about something you don't know nothing about, which is art. So there are things that you can do. But then there are other things that are very laser focused to increasing the intelligence of a man and giving him greater bandwidth in being able to recognize patterns, so that a few things happen. You develop yourself into this man who has power. Like, he has power in his own intelligence, his own abilities, his own ability to think and recognize. And by developing yourself that way, it becomes a lot easier to recognize patterns in women that may not have interest in you. But the other thing happens is the women who haven't developed themselves and they're looking for the free ride, they have nothing to offer. Those women can smell you. They can distinguish that, hey, this guy has got something going on. He's not going to play the games. He's going to see right through me because he's got some ability. She may not be able to put her finger on it, but she will know that you've developed yourself. And she'll do what we call self-select, which means she will take herself out. So a lot of you guys who see these women who go off and play with the bad boys and they won't play with you, a lot of times you've dodged a bullet. So they're going to go off to where they belong with someone who's less likely to be able to recognize the poor behavior that she's offering. So by developing yourself, part of that is being able to strip down your own blind spots and barriers. This has nothing to do with women, because this supports you in being able to find opportunities in the business world. It supports you in being able to find viable business partners, and with those partners being able to recognize opportunities, like that pattern recognition. You're able to see opportunities and see how one opportunity connects to another, and how certain people connect to supporting you and accomplishing, fulfilling those opportunities. So pattern recognition, the ability to increase your intelligence, shed like a snake shedding skin, shedding some of the dead weight that, let's say, your environment imposed on you. It told you that, hey, you're a man and you should find your feminine side. You know what? Good news and bad news. The bad news is you don't have a feminine side. And I know they've told you that you do, and that you should feel bad for not expressing your feminine side. Well, what you do have as a man is you do have two sides. That's the good news. One side is a man, that sophisticated man who develops himself, who develops himself in a way that he's able to conduct himself in any situation, conflict resolution, negotiation, listening, communication. That's the side of you that you have that's always there to develop. That's the side that goes through life and goes through the hiccups and the trip-ups, the breakdowns, the chaos, the problems. That's the side of you that can navigate through that side of life, because life offers that, right? And there's a lot you learn from it. And then there's that other side of you. That's the caveman. So there's the sophisticated, negotiating, understanding life, negotiating through problems, and having power in the face of anything. And then there's the caveman side. That's the side that, while a sophisticated side can create barriers, the caveman is the one that enforces those boundaries. Cavemen enforce boundaries. Cavemen enforce discipline. Cavemen enforce security and safety. It's the side that women want, except even they've been talked out of not wanting that from a man. So what am I saying? You're a man. You have two sides. You're sophisticated, learned, developed, and it has nothing to do with your education level, because there's a lot of power in self-learning, right? So you go to school and at some point you graduate and you continue to learn. And you continue to develop yourself Conflict resolution is a great skill to have for any man in and out of business. It supports you in raising children, dealing with family, being able to have tough conversations with people. These are all things that you need to support your sophisticated side. And then there's that caveman side. There's that side of every man that he needs to be able to express. That we want to wrestle, and we want to watch football and boxing, and we want to do things. And you can even express that in your video games. But that's the side of you that's a man. And women have no right to infringe on either side of ours. If they just focused on what it means to be a woman, they'd be just fine. And if a woman wants to be a caveman and understands the rules of being a caveman, then if you want to play in that with guys who want to play, understand there are consequences. Or you can just be the guy who grabs them by the hair, right? So, in my show on Sunday, guys were talking about, well, how do you avoid the woman who's going to take advantage of you? And that conversation came out of another one, which was they were talking about red pill guys, and we were talking about how do we resolve the dysfunction in the U.S. by having all men become MGTOW or red pill or black pill? If all men set boundaries and say, this is it, ladies, you cannot operate outside of that, and if you do, then you don't belong here. We socially alienate you, and if you don't like it, then all of you can pack up, go find your own island, and go live there and build your own civilization, because we as men have built this one. And if you don't like the rules that we put in place, leave. It's like your teenage son or daughter who wants to set the rules in a house where you have built this house and paid for it. So if the ladies don't like the rules that we as cavemen put in place that are actually in their own best interest, they can leave. So if they think they can be promiscuous, this is another thing. How do you distinguish, right? If a woman is very promiscuous, and for all the ladies who think you can be promiscuous and a guy is never going to know how much, women who sleep with 6 men or more, at the number 6, she starts to really experience this emotional instability. And the higher that number over 6 men she has sex with, the more likely she's unstable. So all the statistics show women who marry as virgins have the highest chance of staying married, well over 95%. Women who marry the first guy they have sex with and only have sex with him, they still have a high chance. So when those numbers climb, a woman gets to 10, 20, 30, her chances of a successful marriage are so tiny. Right? And so all of you who will say, well, I know a woman who had sex with 100 guys and she's still married. Yes, it's not that they have a 0 chance. That's the slither of women who actually made it through. The numbers are small. So why play the odds against you? So as a man, when you develop yourself, not only are you able to distinguish opportunities in the business world and find business partners, because you're definitely better off having a good business partner who can complement the skills and competencies and take up some of the work that's needed to run a great business. If you want to have children, hell, you can have children through a surrogate. Here, you pay this company, they find a woman, she carries the baby, she follows your rules of diet, and she's gone, and you raise these children. And you be a great father because you've developed yourself as a man. And when you lay down the law in the household, there's a caveman in you who provides discipline and safety and protection. You're protecting your children even from their own bad influences in the world, from the media and elsewhere. However, if you're a man who chooses that he wants to be in a relationship with a woman and wants to marry her, your discernment is predicated on your ability to develop your own self as a man. To not be afraid of the caveman that you have in you, and to not be afraid to intellectually develop yourself so you have what we've created computers to do. A very keen sense of pattern recognition. Discernment is what you would call it. right? So you can know what questions to ask a woman. You can engage her in such a way that you can actually pull out and start to recognize the dysfunction, the emotional instability. No matter how long she attempts to hide it, something happens. And when you've developed yourself as a man to be able to resolve conflict, you actually deserve someone who is more like you, as opposed to some woman who has pride in just having sex with a bunch of men and is proud of that without understanding that there are consequences. This is called poor decision making. So, as a man, you have the right to be this sophisticated caveman. That's right. Out in the wilderness with all the other cavemen. In the business world, it's like this. It's made for men to compete as cavemen. But we have this sophisticated side that allows us to get things done and be able to get in a room and yell and scream and have disputes and then do what's in the best interest of the whole of the company. And as men, this is our responsibility for society. And we've walked away from it. We let a lot of women talk us out of having that caveman discipline that keeps order in our civilization. And we've actually, a lot of guys have deferred that to the women to keep that. And we continue to hire them as though they're going to be more effective and more productive, and all the research shows they're not. So I've had, in this whole world of cavemen, I've had an advantage. A lot of women have given me a pass. My last name is Santos. So in the United States, they heard that guys in Latin America have this machismo, or these Russian guys who are like, drink vodka, and you know, I am Russian, and it is the Russian way, and you do it my way. So when I'd be in a company of a bunch of men and women, and I'd talk about how, hey, men have to lay down the law, the women would basically chastise the other guys, like, you better not listen to him. He's only like that because, well, he's Santos, and Santos, well, he's just machismo, and they can get away with that. But the women never despised me for it. They actually respected me for it. They respected me because I stood for something, no matter how unpopular it was with the men or with the women. I didn't bend over for the women and let them tell me how to be a man. So in the end, you know, in my show, people were talking about short-term strategies for reproduction. In the end, the women would have more interest in a man who's going to be a man. So whether this is about your own life without a woman, in business, in your personal, with your family, with your friends, you have a right to have your sophisticated side, to develop yourself, that keen sense of discernment, that ability to recognize patterns for what's good, what's not good, what's average, what direction to go. And you also have that right to be that caveman. That's part of you. And it is troubling to watch men keep that bottled up, to be penalized for it. So, listen guys, this idea of developing yourself is well beyond self-help books. It is the journey to peel off many of the barriers and blind spots and literally unlearn a lot of what you would call social engineering. And if men do not start to unlearn this now, women will move us in a direction that's not in the best interest of anyone, not even for them. So I urge you to get on that path of development and set free the caveman in you. So until my next video, I want to hear your thoughts and comments. For you guys who have remained a caveman like me, and I've been called that a number of times, I want to hear your stories. How does that work for you? Share with other men how that in the end wins the respect from women. I'd like to hear. For the guys who gave up on being that caveman. What's the price you've paid for that? So let's start taking this journey together. Like this video. I want to see your comments. Share it. Share it with men, young guys, old guys who need to hear this message, because there are a lot of older guys who have been in the sort of the genie bottle, locked in there, shamed away for being a man, especially a caveman or a masculine man. So like my video, share it, and until next time, thank you very much, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care. Bye.